Gamers, look at this brand new Switch game! It's actually a GameCube game, and it's pretty cool. Here are 30 useless facts about it. Before the game was released on the GameCube, there were plans to develop a version for the Nintendo 64, but due to the weirdness of the N64 controller, this version was completely scrapped. But then again, according to Shigeru Miyamoto, the real reason why there wasn't an N64 Metroid was because the team couldn't come up with any concrete ideas. Who's telling the truth? When the game begins, originally, Samus was supposed to narrate the backstory and tell us more about it, but this dialogue was actually cut in the final game. The thing is, the narration still is on the disc and it sounds amazing. Just give it a listen.
10 years ago, below the surface of planet Zebes, the mercenaries known as space pirates were defeated by interstellar bounty hunter Samus Aran.
You see, it's pretty cool. Even weirder is that the PAL version released in Europe has a completely different narrator. This time it's a dude and the dialogue is actually completely different.
The cosmos. In the vast universe, the history of humanity is but a flash of light from a lone star.
Man, how many versions of the intro did they record? Surprisingly enough, when Nintendo chose Retro Studios to help them co-develop Metroid Prime, the studio wasn't doing particularly well. Most of their games were cancelled, there had been layoffs, and teams were moved left and right. Thankfully, this weird choice led to them getting back on their feet and creating some amazing Nintendo games. By searching through the game's files, we can see an unused version of Samus's Phazon suit, which has different colors. It's more turquoise than it is black and red. While asked about it, senior artist Mike Sneath said that yes, this is another version done by another artist, but they didn't feel like the suit made Samus look evil enough, which is why they didn't use it. The first appearance of this game was made at Space World 2000, showing a 10-second video of it. In November of the same year, Retro Studios posted a job application for the game on their website and pretty much confirmed that they were the studios making it. Oops, I guess that's a leak. Have you ever noticed the little hand logos for the beam type and wondered what they actually represent? Well, they are the gestures that Samus has to do inside of the suit to change to said beam. How do I know that? Well, by using the X-ray visor, we can actually see her actual fingers doing the gestures. Now this is attention to detail. Do you like Samus's suit? Well, me too, but there's actually a way to change it if you played Metroid Fusion on the GBA. If you beat both Metroid Prime and Metroid Fusion and then connect them using the Game Boy Advance link cable, you will unlock the Fusion suit in Metroid Prime. This is actually pretty cool. As a fan of the Metroid series, I always wondered where my boy Kraid was in Metroid Prime. Well, he was supposed to be in the game, but was sadly scrapped because of time constraints. The team decided not to push back the game's release date and instead got rid of him. It's a shame, but I get it. According to people working at Retro Studios at the time, during the last month, the staff worked 80 to 100-hour weeks in order to reach Nintendo's deadline on the game. Ouch, that is not human. Metroid Prime can actually only load 2 rooms at once, which is why when there are multiple doors and you shoot them open, only one at a time will actually open up. And sometimes you shoot the door and it doesn't open immediately. This is due to the fact that the room isn't done loading yet. So you have to let the poor GameCube work its magic and load everything up before it opens up the door. So originally, the Super Nintendo game Super Metroid was an unlockable after you cleared Metroid Prime. But because the developer that put it in the game was using a third-party SNES emulator, Nintendo asked for its removal and insisted on including the original NES Metroid instead. So originally, Metroid Prime was planned to be a third-person shooter, but Shigeru Miyamoto didn't actually like the idea after playing Rare's game Jet Force Gemini and realizing that first-person shooter would work way better for the type of game they wanted to make. If you love the music in this game, well, first off, you have great taste. But also, luckily for you, a soundtrack was released in June of 2003 and features the best songs from both Metroid Prime and Metroid Fusion. There is an unused picture in the game that looks like Samus using the Shine Sparking ability. While it was originally planned to be in the game, it was eventually scrapped because it was too difficult to implement in a 3D game. A version of Metroid Prime was released for the Wii in Japan, featuring new play controls, which are actually very similar to the way they work in Metroid Prime 3 Corruption. Some changes were actually made in this version, including the ability to use the Spring Ball, which allows you to jump as a Morph Ball, removing the need to do Morph Ball jumps, which I guess were too hardcore for Wii gamers? There's also more voice acting in this version, when starting from a save station and during the opening sequence. And for the North American audience, as we didn't get this version, we were instead blessed with the wonderful Metroid Prime trilogy, which actually features all 3 Metroid Prime games under one roof. Amazing! And if you were watching the Nintendo Direct from last month with me, you saw that this game was remastered on the Nintendo Switch, and I got pretty excited. Maybe a bit too much. And I even got the physical version, because I love those little cartridges. And did you know that the physical version of Metroid Prime Remastered actually features 2 covers? Yeah, you can just swap the paper and bada bing bada boom, a new cover art. Remember those bonus suits you could get using the GBA Link cable? Well, they're nowhere to be found in the remaster, which is a bit of a bummer, but with everything else that has been improved, I can't complain. Depending on how many items you picked up during your quests, you can get 3 different endings. The worst one depicts Samus leaving in her spaceship and seeing the destruction of the temple. The mid one will show her face for the first time ever in 3D. And the best ending will also feature a post-credit scene where a black and red metal hand bursts from the Phazon, followed by an eye that appears, foreshadowing the birth of Dark Samus in the sequel Metroid Prime 2 Echoes. Alongside Metroid Other M, Federation Forces, and Metroid Dread, Prime is the only Metroid game where Samus doesn't remove her entire power suit during the ending. Dang, why can't I see Samus in a bikini? There is a version of the game that included a second disc that featured a trailer and a demo for Metroid Prime 2 Echoes, as well as an art gallery and a timeline of Metroid games. That's pretty cool! And there is also a GameCube bundle that comes with a bunch of goodies, including a Metroid Prime faceplate, because yes, believe it or not, you can actually swap out the GameCube faceplates on some of the models. And guess what? There's another very rare version of the game that was packed along The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. This one was actually bundled with a GameCube during the holiday season, and wow, Zelda and Metroid? That's a weird mix. Metroid Prime sold 2.8 million copies, making it the 6th best-selling GameCube game of all time. Whoa! These useless facts were actually insane! You should totally subscribe and tap the cards on screen right now to watch another video. Alright, bye!